We have a couple of annotations that are useful for data validation. How MVC uses the attributes for validation. We've already kind of discussed this. The validation is kind of done automatic for you. It looks at your attributes. It determines if there are errors or not. It sends the data from the form to the controller along with all of the errors. And then when we check the model state, if there's errors, it's not valid. So then you go back to the view and it displays the errors. So MVC does follow a dry process, which means don't repeat yourself. It is a core design principle of ASP.NET Core MVC. So we are encouraged to specify functionality or behavior in one place. And it is used in the entire application from that one place, which is why we do all of the data annotations in the model. So we're going to be adding validation to our model. And regular expressions are pretty much used in all languages to validate. Many people find them confusing, but how you use them here is you use regular expression and then in parentheses, double quotes, give it the expression it should check, and then you can do a custom error message. So one of the easier things to check is for alphanumeric data. So this is the check for alphanumeric, and you're checking for lowercase or uppercase letters, and you're checking for digits 0 to 9. And for those of you that need a refresher on regular expressions, I did include a couple links that you can work through. But you should have encountered this already in your coding classes. This very long expression is for phone number. Okay? And my philosophy is why reinvent the wheel? So if I want to do a check with a regular expression, I typically will Google that because many wise people have gone through and they have developed very good regular expressions, and they are kind enough to document them. So you can simply find one that works, copy and paste. And this is being applied to phone number. So if you enter a phone number that's bogus, it should catch it here, and then you should see your custom error message. Phone number validation is particularly complicated, so I did include a link to more information on that as well. But you can use regular expressions for all sorts of things, not just phone numbers. You could use it for zip codes and credit card formats and all sorts of different things. File extensions, there is annotation for that. So if you were allowing an upload of a graphic for an avatar and you were only going to allow photos, you can limit to JPEG extensions. The compare property, which we are actually using for passwords, basically lets you compare one property to another. So what is required in parentheses is the property you are comparing to. And we did that with passwords, but it's typically used with email also. So at this point, we have covered all of the annotations that you are most likely to use. And if you have used any of the schema annotations, then you are going to need to update your database. Also, if you have used any of the length annotations where you have like string length or max length, that will also affect the columns in the table. So you do need to update your database. So what you would have to do is add a migration, give it a name, and then update database. And this is done in the Package Manager console. Remember, if you have more than one context, and you will if you are using MVC's login system, then when you add the migration, you have to use the context parameter and tell it what context you are adding a migration for. And then when you update database, you also have to specify the context. Now, because we have used some annotations in the past, we've already discussed the tag helpers and how validation is handled in the controller. We kind of reviewed the validation in the controller today. We haven't talked about the tag helpers, but I did include links to our previous information, and the tag helpers would be in the view validation. So if you remember, we used ASP4 in the label, also in our input elements, and that is connecting directly to the model. And this is with error messages displayed above, and we're using ASP Validate Summary for that. This is also using ASP4 for the label and the input elements. It's connecting to the model, and it's pulling in the column name, or if you specified a display name, it'll pull that in. Then we also added a span tag, and this is for errors that we want to display next to our input area. So instead of displaying all the errors at the top, we are displaying them where the error occurred. And so this is how that would look in a form. So our next step is going to be to add some regular expressions to our classes that we have created. We are also going to go ahead and finish this off by doing the migration and updating the database. That will be in the next video.